Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful brand new day. Welcome to Earth's Ascension with Ortrun and Carl Franklin. It's going to be a wonderful podcast today, so cozy up and take a listen. Good morning, Ortrun and Carl.
Good morning, Dana, and everyone listening. It's good to be with you. Hey, in my meditation this morning, what I was given to share with you was not the original title. And Orchard says, well, you've got to talk about what we said we were going to talk about. So I'm going to touch on that and then go into the future. What they gave me was what life is like on the earth 150 years in the future, or in 2173. So anyway, but in order to get there, we have to do our work today.
So Carl, why don't you start with what's going on right now for us to recognize what the collective consciousness is, where it's at, in your opinion, and the things that we've seen.
My goodness, you're reading my mind.
Right.
Yes, where we're at today, and this is, to my mind, this is one of the biggest things that we have to clear out of our consciousness in order to reach the future that I saw today. And that one thing is our self-image, which Christian Church has conditioned us to believe is sinful. Sin is a major part of Christianity. It's one of the three cornerstones upon which it is built. And as a Lutheran minister, they start their service off right after a hymn with the confession of sins, a part of which says, I am by nature, I am conceived and born in sin, I am by nature sinful. Okay? And I don't know, 2 years or so before I left the Lutheran ministry, I announced to the congregation, our Sunday service, I'm sorry, I can no longer say that. I cannot think of a worse message to give myself every week, especially in church. I'm going to be quiet when you hit that point, but you're free to continue saying it if you want. And the interesting thing is I got no feedback about doing that. And I did. I stopped saying that from that Sunday on. And my self-image began to shift. One of the reasons that Christians, when they die and they get to the tunnel of light, which is often referred to as the gate to heaven, but there is no actual gate, it is a tunnel of light. When they get there, and they some of them don't go in. And they don't go in because they don't feel they're worthy of being in heaven. And they haven't, one of the things they may have in their mind is, Jesus is quoted as saying, be perfect even as your Father in heaven is perfect. And so they're not perfect. They are a sinner, and sinners don't belong in heaven. Well, everybody belongs in heaven. Everybody belongs. Jesus also said, there's nothing you can ever do that will separate you from the love of God. And Christianity and all of the major world's religions teach we have a soul within us. And our soul is the conscious energy of God. And that's what it means in Genesis when it says, and God created humans in his own image and likeness. Because we have this, if you will, a microcosm of the Creator is what brings life to our physical body. We have this. And God is not going to reject a part of himself. That doesn't happen. So anyway, everybody is welcome in heaven, even the worst kind of sinner. And in fact, the word sin for me is usually no longer a part of my vocabulary, because that's not who I am, all right? I am created in the image and likeness of God, and we need to develop that kind of a self-image in order to be able to accept the higher fifth dimensional level of consciousness.
I just wanted to mention, Carl, that you said even the greatest sinner is welcome in heaven. But they still have to do their part to get there. They can't keep continuing on their horrific way, in their terrific way, and then just be admitted into heaven. So what has to change there?
Well, there's a law of the universe that applies in heaven as well as here, and that's the law of cause and effect. And Jesus said, in my Father's house, referring to heaven, are many, many rooms. And there are many, many, I'm going to call it areas or sections of heaven. And in one of my experiences in doing my clearings every day is when people go into the tunnel, some will immediately, there'll be a flash of light where they're connected with their soul's memory. And then others will have to go into the tunnel quite a ways before that happens. And what I've been told is when you go into the tunnel of light, the further you go in, the higher the frequency. And when you reach the frequency of your consciousness, that's when you are reconnected with your soul's memory. All right? Those and when that happens, there's a flash of light. Anyway, those that go in at a lower frequency go into a lower part of heaven. And the lowest parts used to be referred to as purgatory. And the Catholic Church a couple of years ago announced purgatory does not exist here anymore. And they're right. They're right. The lower part of heaven, and I'm going to say about the lower third of heaven, was removed from our heavenly plane and connected to the heavenly plane of another Earth-like planet. And now those people that are functioning at very low levels of consciousness, they automatically go to that planet. All right. So and what they did also to heaven is they added rooms to the top end because more people are dying at a higher level of consciousness, and they needed more room in heaven for them. Okay? So yes, they pay the consequences. When you die, the only change in you as a person is a weight change. You go from whatever your weight is to 1/3 of an ounce. Okay?
5'8".
I'm sorry, 5'8". Thank you. Yes. Ortrud's memory is better than mine, as you can tell. So anyway, but you're exactly the same person, and the heaven or hell of it is you have to live with yourself here and in the hereafter. So that's yes. Anything else?
Well, okay, now we can move on into what do you see? What do you see as far as the consciousness of our planet? What has occurred, and what are some of the things that we can look at and see? What do you see that has changed? That's looking like we are being uplifted and getting into a higher level of awareness and consciousness, and that we are moving forward into the higher realms.
Okay, let's talk about the planet first. There are two things that come to mind. The electromagnetic field that the Earth radiates was steady at 7.8 hertz prior to 1987. In 1987, it for the first time broke above 8, and today it's fluctuating between 60 and 70 hertz. That's hertz is vibrations per second. So the frequency of the Earth has increased almost 1,000% since 1989. So something is happening to the planet itself. Something that is more evident to us, the planet's getting warmer. Now, scientists tell us, well, it's caused by humans because we're putting too much CO2 into the atmosphere. And there is truth to that, but that's not the whole story. A part of the story is that the output of the sun has increased. And as the frequency of some of the rays the sun are putting out are higher frequency waves that are coming into the planet and affecting us, raising the frequency of our physical bodies, raising the frequency of the planet, which is why the Schumann resonance, which is that electromagnetic field, is increasing. And it's a primary reason why the planet is warming. And the prediction or the channel information says that the Earth will end up, when it's fully in the fifth dimension, there will be more of the land surface that is of a temperate temperature zone, and which means that the tilt of the Earth, which is now 23 degrees to the sun, that will probably maybe increase a little bit more to make more of the land area warmer. But the hot areas not quite so hot. Okay? So those are two of the things that are happening right now to the planet.
Okay. What external things are you seeing happening here? If you're looking about, one of the things I want to mention is that you were speaking about Christianity, and the influence it's had. But Carl, don't you feel, because we have visited a few churches just recently that are Christian, right? And their sermons are so much higher in awareness and consciousness, and you don't hear them saying that you're a sinner. You don't hear that at all anymore. I haven't heard that in the last few sermons. Have you?
No.
Okay. And they have an outlook more now for being of service not only to themselves and becoming grandiose, but to be of service to others. And so many more churches. And I know I came to the States in 1952, and we came. The Lutheran Brotherhood had many, many refugees coming in during that time. We didn't come through them, but many of our friends did. And so they were outreach. They helped people around the planet. I'm not even sure about the Catholics if they had those kind of services, but they might have had. They probably did. But the thing of it is that now it's not just the two large organizations that are doing that. Those two large organizations. Other churches are all reaching out also now to assist and help, with the planet. Is what I am seeing. Because, for instance, my daughter is helping to set up a program with a school in Uganda. And they're making trips to Israel and so on, so they can start to integrate and recognize, that they are much more alike than they realized. So that's one of the things I've seen happening. So I think there's been a lot of progress in that. It certainly isn't where it should be, but it certainly has progressed. What else do you see?
Well, I want to just agree very much with you, and that is a change that is occurring in some of the Christian churches. Now, these churches that we have attended are not heavily affiliated with any denomination. They're more independent, and thus they have the freedom to change. Whereas in the Catholic Church, the only one that can make change is the Pope, and he's governed by the cardinals as to what he can do. And in the Lutheran Church, they're not comfortable if you go beyond Martin Luther, and in the Calvin churches, they have these limitations. And either ministers are going to stretch that and go beyond it because that's where they are and where their people are, or their denomination is going to diminish in size, which is what is happening in most of the denominations. And the Catholic Church has lost about 30%. Okay, so anyway, that's going on.
But what about individuals? What do you see in individuals?
Well, with the individuals, as I've indicated, we need to get rid of this whole image of being a sinner. And we need to flip it over and make about a 180-degree change in our thinking and our believing. We are created in the image of the Creator. And I've shared this, I believe, with you before, but in case you did not remember or I'm not remembering that I shared it, the humans on planet Earth are co-creators on the surface of the planet. And I would challenge you to think of anything that you have ever experienced, whether it's inside of yourself or through your five senses, where it was not created by either Mother Nature or by humans. We are there are 1 to 2 million life forms on the planet. We're the only life form that raises its own food, that wears clothing that it has designed and made, that has permanent housing, that builds cities and towns, that has technology and Medicare, a medical system and an educational system. We're the only species that has a government and an economy and religions, okay? Literally everything on the surface of the earth has been created by Mother Nature or humans. We are a co-creator, okay? And what's going to be happening, I want to move now, if I may, into the future. What's going to be happening in the future is our abilities are going to be tremendously expanded. And right now, in order to have food, we've had to cut how many countless numbers of trees down to convert it from forest to farmland, all right? Well, 150 years from now, if there's anything that you want, you're going to call it out of energy into form, be it food, be it shelter, be it clothing. And in terms of transportation, we're not going to need cars and superhighways and trains and airplanes, because you are going to be able to teleport yourself, either physically or just your mind, to virtually any place you want to go on the planet. And if it's just with your mind, you'll be able to teleport yourself most any place you want to go in space. All right? And without a physical body, you don't need life support systems. But you can go there with the goal of learning something or experiencing something, and then that becomes a part of you, even though your physical body may never have moved. Okay? So there will be a few large cities in the world, and the world will be united, the human race will be united as one. And they will recognize their role and take very seriously their role as being a co-creator on the earth. And when decisions are made, they will be made not just for personal gain or for the benefit of your community or a region, but it will be made because it's beneficial to the planet. And what I've been told is that most people will choose to live in smaller communities, and each of these small communities will have at least one area that they specialize in. They may be artists, they may be technicians, they may be philosophers or theologians, or they may be engineers, all right? And because you have instant communication via your mind, you don't all have to be in a specific area. But to assemble something in physical form, you do need to be in that physical area. So anyway, each town will have its specialty, and it will earn its livelihood, not only because it's able to support itself physically for food and clothing, etc., but they will trade services with other communities. So currency will not be a major factor, all right? And with worldwide communication, just mind to mind, people can live anywhere, and you can maintain a family unit even though they're not in one place physically. So much of the earth will be returned to its natural form, not unlike what America was before the white man came here, all right? And each person will be encouraged to develop their interests, and they will be supported to the extent that they need support in developing that talent, that ability, that wisdom, that knowledge, okay? And we literally will be each other's keeper, but each person will be absolutely encouraged to fully develop their own potential, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, okay? So that's what I'm sensing, that life will be like 150 years in the future. But for us to reach that, we have to clear out the blockages within ourselves and the blockages that exist within our governments, our societies, our religions, etc., so that we can attain that high level of consciousness and support this higher level of consciousness in the planet. So I think we're in for some absolutely fascinating times, but our generation is laying the foundation for it. And the primary way we're laying the foundation is by clearing out that holds us back. If it's negative, it needs to be cleared. And when I say negative, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be physical. Okay? Ortrun, anything else here?
So give us some ideas on how this is done. One of my thoughts of what I'm thinking about is because really it lies on us, really. Because each one of us has to play our role in this, right? And so in order for us to change and move some of these things out of our system, such as, like you said, emotional traumas or all kinds of things, it can be anything. Those different things it's necessary to get those out so we can be clear channels, because we really are the ones that are going to be creating this planet and the way it's going to be functioning. And so one of the things that I think is one of the, and in a sense I'm going to say one of the easiest things to think about and to make a part of your routine is to use the I am affirmations. If you haven't done any of that, or if you haven't ever started on looking at that aspect of yourself, because every time that you say, I am something, that's what you are. So if you see something negative about yourself, that's what you continue to tell yourself, just like you said when you were doing the Nicene Creed. And so they were giving a negative message. So by replacing that with I am light, whatever you want to be, it can be a carpenter, it can be something positive, and to recognize that that's really what is within you, and so you can create and bring forth that which is coming from another aspect other than I'm going to say the parts of you that you no longer want to have within yourself.
What Ortrun is saying, the only person that can change you is you. We cannot change another person. We can give them opportunity to make change in themselves, but we cannot make it happen. Only they can make it happen. And when you're using the I am affirmations, if you're using just the words, the words carry power, but very little. If when you make the affirmations, you add the emotional energy to it and the mental energy to it, then it can become very, very powerful. Each hearing with a strong positive emotion and a strong mental desire can be more effective than saying the same thing with just the words, 100 or 1,000 times. Yeah. So image in your mind, which is the primary language of the subconscious, image yourself being what you are saying you are. And as you see it, you feel it, and you see it, you are creating it. The ascension is being done one person at a time. Now, that's in the human realm. In the planetary realm, the planet has a soul. The planet is ensouled, as are all planets, moons, etc. And the soul of the planet, which carries a larger aspect or amount of the Creator's energy and consciousness within itself, it is raising its consciousness. It is influenced by what we here on Earth think, say, and do. Particularly on its surface, it's very much influenced by us. But the Earth is taking care of itself, and it is absorbing the energies, much of which is the higher energies come through the sun, okay? But other solar systems and star systems are also sending us energy, but much of that comes through the sun. And the center sun of the galaxy, for example, is sending energy primarily through our sun. And when we reach a certain point, there's going to be a significant event that I can only equate it to what happened to the disciples on Pentecost, when the Bible records that the Holy Spirit descended into the disciples, and they were then able to go out and perform miracles. But it doesn't seem to have lasted that long in them, because after a couple of 3, 4, 5 years, they seem to have lost that ability. Okay? with us, there's going to be, and this may be done on a planetary basis, or it may be done on an individual basis. I do not know, but my suspicion is that there's going to be a blanket of energy that's going to come into the earth, and each person will be able to absorb and take in only what they're capable of. And the higher the consciousness, the more you will be able to absorb and incorporate. And that will move all of humanity up, but by varying amounts. Some will be at a frequency they can't absorb any of it, all right? Others will be able to absorb a great deal. So it pays each one of us to raise our consciousness to the highest point that we can. So when and if that happens, we will benefit the maximum amount we can from it. So that's a goal that we can set for ourselves.
I think we still have a few moments. So, okay, so how can this then, Carl, assist us right now? And how has it assisted? I mean, for me, I see that there's many things that happen on the planet that have changed. On the outer, certainly, look at the computer age. Look what it's done. Okay, and as I said, I just mentioned some of the churches. They're changing their tone. They're changing their format. But that's also happening because there has been a large amount of areas that have been come up, and they've been coming up, and we're seeing things that still need to have some kind of assistance so that it can get to place where it should be, right? The mistreatment of people, things of that sort, all those different things. So in order for those things to, for you to be able to get beyond that, for the planet to get beyond that, to approach that from a place of sending healing light and love into those spaces, how else would you do that?
Okay, one thing that is happening now is governments that are run by dictators. The dictatorship is going to go the role of kings. They're going to be done away with, all right? And power is going to be returned to the people. So if you're casting a vote in the states, for example, you don't want a dictator leadership. Okay, you want the highest form of democracy that you can get, and therefore you need to elect people that carry that kind of a value system, that want to empower people, not build the power of the central government. So, and individuals that want to have power and control others, we don't need them in government. We don't need them in leadership positions, period. And we need to foster the leadership ability within ourselves and within people that we're close to and can have some influence on. So I think that's one of the changes that you're going to see happening. And you're going to see great changes in government and great changes in the economy. There's going to be a different economy. It's going to be on more even distribution of wealth. A system where 1% have 90% of the wealth, that is not sustainable over a long period of time. The population will not tolerate it. And so as these things spring forth, do not be upset and do not go into fear. Change can be frightening, but please don't let it frighten you. And know that it's part of the cleansing process. And instead, focus your energy, your attention, your emotions on what it is you want to replace that's going down. Become a powerful, far-sighted, loving creator of the future, not only for yourself and your family, but for the country, for the world, for humanity. And it's time for us to take seriously our role that we are co-creators on the surface of the earth.
Well, I think the computer age certainly can help that as long as we keep sending those more positive messages through. And because, the computer age is such a huge thing. It's such a communication tool. And for us to, send our light and love through those channels, because every time, for instance, that we get on our computer, send light and love to your computer. First and foremost, it'll make your computer work better. It really will, because you'll be in harmony with it. And it will want to please you, just like as you want to send out something to help others also. But there have been improvements in all these areas, that we've talked about over the years. Carl and I were just watching this program, I think it's on Prime, that's about Europe and all the different things that they've gone through and how it came about, how it started, and how, all in all, that, yes, they're still having their issues, but how things have changed and how they've progressed and how much they have grown and become into that recognition that we as different cultures, which we really have here in the United States too, it's being challenged now, how we can all integrate and work together, because that is really what we are. We are one in humanity and the divine creation.
Well, here's some food for you to think about, what we've talked about today. And I hope you will give serious consideration to using the affirmations and building yourself, because you can have more effect on the ascension of the planet and on other people's lives by changing yourself than by anything else that you can do. Because the ripple effect, you become the role model, people will begin asking questions, how can I be more like you, etc. And we are all teachers, whether we're aware of it or not. So be self-aware and be loving, be generous, be giving, and focus your attention on the highest good for all that is in your life.
And to recognize that there's already been a lot done, because there has. As I said, we watched this program and how Europe was developed and all the challenges that they went through. And so those are all lessons learned that we can also learn from by and not having to go through if we do learn from those particular situations. So everyone has growth, and everyone can grow. But as I mentioned with the affirmations, that was one of the things, first things you learned when you attended, like Unity Church, for affirmations. But what Carl said, which is so true, is that to open yourself up and breathe in and allow that highest essence to come through you when you're saying those affirmations, because that's how you can incorporate them more fully, into your being. And then everything you say, every breath you take, everyone you look at, you are sending also that energy of who you are out to the planet and assist it in its assistance.
Are we going to continue this through the summer?
No. Carl just mentioned, are we doing this through the summer?
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually going to be taking a sabbatical, and as far as I know, we will reconvene in September sometime. So, but tune in for further information regarding that.
You'll either get an email if you're on my mailing list, or you can go into our website, ourspiritualascension.com. And we will be doing readings over the summer. Both Orkin will be doing meditation and healing, and I'll be doing life script readings. So if we can be of any help to you over these summer months, please contact us via telephone or by computer on our website.
So our website is ourspiritualascension.com. So, yes, if you need us for anything, we are here. And thank you so much for being part of this show for this period of time. And we will be looking forward to seeing you next year.
Accept our love and our blessing, and enjoy the summer. Bye-bye now.